Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to the final episode of the podcast before the final series. Yes, I'm soon to go on an adventure, and I'll be back by the time that the first finals game does start. My apologies, but I'm embarking, and it's booked. But don't worry, this is a lengthier episode, so that you've got some content to last you for the next couple of weeks, and you can come back and watch it when the time is right. What do I mean by that? You have to stick around and find out. Here's a little glimpse of what happened this week.
It wasn't him that hurt us on that day. I think we had him handled really good because we spoke about it. It was a couple of other boys, I'm not sure of their names, that I think stepped up at the end of that game and took their chances.
I think she hit the post twice that game. We ended up conceding a penalty at the back end of the game and losing that game. We played against Kellyville, who was sitting top of the table at the moment. The game finished 2-1.
My striking performance might have actually been the problem. In the first half, we sort of changed things up in the second half. Taryn just made a real simple little change, dropped me back into more of a 10 role and slid Kieran up front.
Tigers v Ponds, Marayong host Holroyd. My chat with Ellie in particular is very lengthy and very detailed, and if I do say so myself, very entertaining. Let's cue that intro music. Just a quick word before I go away. I'm being replaced by a commentator, a really talented young commentator whose name is 𝓟𝓞𝓝𝓓𝓢. He did our reserve grade grand final last year. He gave us that iconic moment where Brandon Ford scored his goal against Marayong in that final, which was utterly fantastic. I watch it all the time. It's a brilliant moment. The same way you guys have supported me over the last couple of years and provided me with information about your soccer lives, your football lives, your personal lives, do the same for Bo. He's going to come and chat to you, I'm sure. He's going to come and familiarise himself with the comp. He's coming in. He's going to be taking some of the big games as we head into the season, and your premiership will be defined by his voice. So support him. Help him however you can. Let's go through a whole lot of results. The WPL match of the round was a sensational one, as Quakers Juniors of Blacktown Association, of course, were the first team to take any points off of Kellyville of any magnitude this season. A 2-2 draw it was, as the highlights ring through now. Marayong tied 1-1 with Winston Hills as Quakers Tigers went down 5-0. Meanwhile, Parkley was again a washout. Quakers Juniors might have put up the best front of an opposition performance against Kellyville of anyone this season, including their own first time against them, but it wasn't to be, as the gap remains pretty lengthy, and it's going to be all in Kellyville's hands now. Oakville 3, Polonia 2, as the change of hands atop the table last week was more than solidified last Saturday. Glenwood, though, tied 0-0 with Parkley, so it does remain close. Keep an eye on this space, we're not done yet. Newbury swept aside Pats 4-1, but come Wednesday night, Polonia recovered with a 6-0 win over Rudy Hill as standard. Parkley with a big 2-0 win away from home at Town Rangers. Glenwood and St Pat's were 3-0 up with less than 20 to go. Glenwood then scored 3 in 8 minutes and it ended 3-3. What the heck? So now I look at the table, that now means that Polonia are back in first place. Glenwood second, behind by a goal difference of 11. Oakville are now third, behind both Glenwood and Polonia by just 2 points. Parkley some way off now in fourth. Pats and Town Rangers now a long way from the top four compared to just a couple of weeks ago. Wow, the flip of this table has been mesmerising. Marayong put Tigers aside 3-0. Majid Eslami with 2 goals to add to his growing collection. Ponds 2, Rivo 1 thanks to a far-dodged Sanja Golden Boot brace. 4 goals split 2-2 between Workers and Dooney in the match of the round. Dimi Petratos' hat-trick as he departs the club put ropes away for a boundary score 4-0 at home. As we have a look at the ladder, Ponds still trail Marayong by the points that separated them when they faced a couple of weeks ago. Dooney and Creek just behind them. Creek and Tigers, mind you, have played a game more than anybody else, though. Right, I want to chat to Ponds right now. This is a bit of a lengthier one. I'm actually going to put the rest of the highlights over this section now because we have had so many matches around the last couple of days. So enjoy that. Think of it like a Subway Surfers when you're watching a TikTok sort of thing. I'm going to keep you entertained and entertained. Bring on Ellie. Ponds are finally back on the podcast. Players that are top of the Golden Boot race, players high up in the Player of the Year race, no surprises whatsoever. There's a reason why they've made so many grand finals in a row. Beautiful football, beautiful footballers. Ellie joins us late on a Thursday night after work for a little chat. We're here to do some entertaining. We most certainly are. Thanks for joining me, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm keen to be here. Let's talk firstly about that Tigers game last time. You lost 2-1. You were up with 10 minutes to go. It says on dribble it was a Scotty Jackson own goal, and then Billy for them scored in the 86th. So, look, I've asked them the same question. What caused that momentum shift in that game to turn it in their favour?
Yeah, a bit of a tough one. It was start of the season. Obviously, we were depleted with a lot of suspensions and injuries, but no excuses. We took an early lead. I think in that game, Dodd scored us an early goal, and their keeper just threw out the boot 3-4 times, and literally, Dodd could have had maybe 3 or 4 goals in that first half, and he just chucked the foot out one way, and every time it nipped his foot and just went across that goal post. So we could have killed that game very early, but we didn't. We didn't execute our chances and stuff like that. It was a bit of great goalkeeping, to be honest. And then they just grew into the game and grew into the game. And unfortunately, that game, I think we had about, can't remember, it was a lot of players out. So it was 3 or 4 players playing 2 games. So our legs were gone, really had nothing on the bench. And as you've seen, the goals that came in, I think both were in the 80th minute or something. We just died, and I think, showed maybe they were a bit more fitter or something like that at the start of the season. They got that goal, an own goal, made it 1-1. And you just seen them. They just grew and they wanted it and stuff. And we were just I just couldn't match them at the end, to be honest. That's what it came down to. They I think were a bit more hungry than us, and we got taught a lesson on that night.
Their keeper's been injured since then. They've made a couple of changes. One's come in. They played a 21s keeper as well, as we saw in the Quakers derby. So that'll be different. I might actually just chuck this in as well. What do you think their biggest threat is, either going forward in midfield, defense, whatever it is? What do you think their biggest threat is?
To be honest, I haven't seen much of them except for the game that we played. And I thought we were in control of that game for a good 60, 70 minutes. We just, like I said, didn't take our chances. Obviously, they've got Byron, sorry. They've got Byron. Everyone knows about him. But it wasn't him that hurt us on that day. I think we had him handled really good because we spoke about it. It was a couple of other boys, I'm not sure of their names, that I think stepped up at the end of that game and took their chances. But like I said, they're a very well coached team, and the never die attitude. They give 100%. It doesn't matter whether they're down by a lot or not. They got a good belief behind them, which was good to see on that day. Just shows, a young team like that, gave it to a more older, experienced team. But like I said, circumstances from then. But we've grown a lot from that day. Like I said, we're a completely different team from what played them in that round 2 game to what we are today.
Yeah, well, Byron debuted off the bench last week against Marayong, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but maybe he's not feeling too good at the moment. But other than that, pretty perfect since then. I'm going to come to the Marayong game a bit later. But I want to talk about sort of the 11 that starts most weeks. So I know Tay's in midfield. You've got an impressive front 3. Sammy at the top of the midfield as well. So talk to me about some of your standout players from this season. Who would you take this opportunity to highlight, the performances of so far?
Might be a little bit different this week from what you're saying. Not really to what you're thinking. The team's going to look like, but to be honest, it's taken us a while to gel because the first 5 weeks we were very depleted. And to be honest, I knew we would drop a game. I wasn't thinking it would be that game that we would drop, but we did. But we came out with it. We're basically just dropping 3 points for the amount of players that we had. At times we had like 16, 17 players available for 2 teams. It's really tough as a coach to continue to ask 3, 4 players to play 2 games. And the boys were amazing. No one said no. I had Taylor playing maybe the first 3 or 4 weeks, 2 full games, 180 minutes to cover. So, Quacky as well, Alex, our young boy as well, played maybe the first 2 or 3 games as well, also 180 minutes of football as well. So, credit where it's true. These boys took a lot of punishment at the start of the year to make up for, for what other players being suspended and injured and away. And we knew we were going to face these dilemmas at the start of the season. So for me, I didn't want to drop a game, but you'd take it on what you had available. When you had 50% of your squad available, and to come out of that outcome, I was pretty happy. As a standouts, obviously Alex got given an opportunity, a young kid, and he's taken it with both hands. He's been able to retain his spot, come in and out here and there, but he's excelled, and you know what? To be honest, having all these players out showed us 3 or 4 players to come in and got given the opportunity. Like, showed me as a coach how good they are, because maybe I would have not given them that opportunity with having a full team and just being loyal to the players that I've had on years before doing me the job. So it's opened our eyes a lot, and in the last couple of weeks we have had changes. Some of our better players haven't been starting. They've been coming off the bench and giving us impact. A couple played reserve grade. We've been basing it a lot about training at the moment as well, and our training's been superior to over the years that we've had. It's gone to another level. The lads, the commitment, like literally getting like 95% of the squad turn up every week. Sometimes the whole squad, and that's injured players even wanting to come down and can't even train and just being there supporting or helping us coaches here or there. Obviously, I've got a better coaching team around me this year as well. Thomas and 𝓟𝓞𝓝𝓓 doing an amazing job. I haven't been there every week as well. I've been away, and I will be away this weekend as well. So they've got the ranks for the weekend, and they've been doing an amazing job. If anything, better than what I would do. So in that sense, even the coaching team surprised me a lot in saying that as well. It's not just players. There's been a whole broad in our team, and just the attitude and the new players that we've brought in, like the likes of Dodd and Sammy and Nathan, and got another guy called Taylor as well in our team that you haven't met yet. You'll probably get to see him this weekend as well. They've just been amazing. Just great attitude, boys that care about each other a lot. Like, you just see in the chat how they talk, and someone might be away or their kid's gone to hospital, or they're just in the chat, how's your kid, how's it going? It's just a chemistry that the boys are having at the moment, and it's a weird feeling that we haven't had before, but I feel like it's a feeling that some teams are built on character of players and stuff like that, and these new players that have come in have just exceeded my expectation, and just a good people that they are, and it's leading onto the soccer pitch as well. And and the likes of like Ibi as well, Ibrahim, he's only played 2 games all season. So he came back his first game, got injured, had a couple of weeks off. So he hasn't even done about 120, 130 minutes into his legs yet. So Jacko's only played 1 game all year as well. He comes back this weekend as well. So literally we've had some of our better players that literally have got no minutes in their legs at the moment. So, and we're still where we are at the moment. So I'm pretty happy where we are. Obviously, we want to be first. We're just behind the 8 ball with Marayong, but we're in a good position to tackle this second half of the year. So that's just going on. The surprises, it's just not players. It's been just as a squad and the coaching team and even the club, how it's backed us this year. It's been amazing.
Last week I did a podcast where I talked about 1 positive, 1 potential drawback, and 1 standout player. I talked about the amount of talent that you guys have, and the fact that you guys have been training means that you've started hot rather than sort of growing into the season. That was what I really appreciated about your season so far. I did say that maybe the defensive mind of your midfield might be a drawback, but I also did admit that there weren't many deficiencies to your team at all. It's a standout team. I'm so happy to hear on a personal level that the team's gelling like it hasn't before. And then I picked Alex Kwok as like a one to watch, I guess. Was there any reaction off the back of that? I haven't actually asked anybody this, but was there any reaction off the back of that podcast that went out that might be worth it, or no, not really?
Not much. Me as a coach, I think the training's gone to another level this year, but we've been training. It's not like we haven't been training in years gone by. We've still been training the same amount of time and stuff like that. It's just been the commitment. I think this year has excelled to another level, and it's just come down for the new players that are coming to the squad, what they're doing, because they're the ones that haven't missed sessions and have attracted the other blokes to actually come in every week. And not only that, they've given the boys that had players just more of an oomph around training, and that's leading onto the game pitch. And like I said, like you'd be surprised. You're thinking like, oh, how better can Matty Albert get? Even he's gone, I think, to a bit of another level this year. Scotty Jackson as well. Like these boys have just got that mojo back into them, where last year I think we were pretty slow and only came at the end of the year because we've got that experience and know how to win the bigger games. But I believe this year, I think the comp is a lot better this year as well. And we haven't been flying like, yeah, we've won a couple of comfortable games, but a lot of them have been 50-50.
Yeah.
And I believe through our training and what we're doing and the things that Thomas and Karim as well that are helping me and implementing into training are starting to pay off. And not only that, our reserve grades just starting now to show how good they can be, because they were depleted at the start of the year with me taking basically all their players to cover for the 7-8 players that were out in first grade. So now they've struck in 2-3 wins in a row, and they're showing like, I believe they can be a team that can be up there with Marayong as well in that grade. They were just unfortunate at the start of the year, me not having to borrow so many of their players to help us out. So now we're starting to get all our players back. It's helped us to have we think we have a very good chance, hopefully in both grades, to a top 2 finish at minimum.
Cool. Sounds really good. Love to hear that. I really do. Could have a club championship push on late in the season. You got 3 guys potentially competing for a golden boot. 2 guys sitting right at the top, but I wouldn't count out the third either. Look, I don't know what you've done with penalties this year. I don't even know if you've had any penalties this year. But that's an example of where maybe the preference goes. How are you managing having that many good goal scorers? That's not an easy job at all.
Yeah, it's not tough. I think at trainings we talk about it here and there. And we give the top 3 a bit of slack and stuff like that about it. But to be honest, you got Dodd leading it outright at the moment with 11 and Skurs on 9. And I think Skurs in the last 2-3 games hasn't scored any. So he had a really hot start. And Blake's on Curry's on 7. So they're all up there. They're in the top 4 or top 5 out of the comp, which just shows they're not like they're all setting up each other at the moment. Like Dodd's obviously the last 3-4 games been capitalising and putting in chances, and Dodd honestly could have had 20 goals by now.
Mm-hmm.
Even at his standard, he's been disappointed in a lot of games with he's expected to finish a couple of goals. And we've been hard on him as well, because our expectation, I bought him over for a reason, and I know how good of a player he is. And there is, like on the weekend, he should have probably easy scored another 2 or 3. But like I said, he's still scoring every game, so that's a positive. But in a way as well, Curry and Skur have also been amazing in linking up with him. They haven't really had that dominant striker. We've had Taylor. Taylor's been amazing. Nothing but Dodd sort of brings us something different to that. But also out of our midfield, what we're getting as well, Taylor's been setting them up a lot. So they're all playing well together at the moment, and we're not really worried who gets it. Would love it to be from our team, but at the end of the day, our goal is to succeed as a team and win these games. If it means our defenders scoring goals, it doesn't matter. The goal isn't to focus. Dodd's not worried about him scoring 3 or 5 in a game. He's worried about the result of the game and what's better for the team. So that's the attitude that I loved about him and stuff like that. But it hasn't been an issue trying to control or this guy hogging it or this. They've actually all teeing off each other because they're all amazing players. And literally, if one's setting up the other one's linking on to score more goals. So it's worked out. And having 3 guys, it just what it does. And it's not only 3. We've got 4 or 5. Like Jacko's still to come in. Alex's main position is to play up there. So there is 5 or 6 players that can play. We've also got a new guy called Nathan Duval. He still hasn't had his chance. He's overseas on his honeymoon for his wedding. He's another really impressive player. We've also got Joey as well that can come in up there. We've got Sam. So our team's building a lot. But like I said, it's not just them 3 that we think about in our squad, and they get all the talk and the recognition from the outside, but it's a lot what the other lads are doing for them that are giving them these opportunities. And they're only going to get better. And vice versa, the work that they're doing off the ball for the other lads to score is showing. And for me, I'm not worried about the numbers at the end of the day. I'm worried where we're leading and how we're getting there as a team is what more I'm worried. It's not who gets the name on the score sheet. It's what's happening before that I'm really worried about more than the goal scorer.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, look, I'm someone who's had a look at Dodd's Instagram highlights of himself. So if I know anything about him, he's going to score when the cameras are on. So I'm keen for Ellie to have a match of the round.
I expect a big show from him this weekend.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I want to do a bit of a look ahead as a final question. Marayong, last game of the season. Now, I'm assuming you want to go perfect until then. There's every chance that both of you and those in green will do the same thing, and you'll go win for win, band for band until the end of the season. So, look, I know everyone says I want to take it 1 week at a time, and I'm kind of sick of that question and answer because I think it's a farce. I think everyone bookmarks a certain a date in the calendar. That's, when the fixtures come out, you look at when the derbies are. It's simple as. So, last game of the season, is that game bookmarked already with both of you having one and then you guys having 2 losses? Is that being bookmarked as the championship decider?
Look, as a coach, it's still a long way for us to there. There's about 8 games to be played before we get to Marayong again. But obviously, when the draw comes out at the start of the year, as a coach, first thing I look at is when we're playing Marayong. We've never had them on the last game of the season, which leads into finals. Our games are obviously very heated, big time. It also brings the best in our players as well, but it's a bit of a weird one. Not sure what to expect on that final game, to be honest, because you're worried about the next week that comes from it. You're worried about cards on the last game, all these type of things that come for it. But we're hoping the only thing that we can do from our control from now to then, we've got 8 games, and hopefully we put ourselves in the best position that we can. And I hope Marayong are also peaking because we want to play them at their best. And so I think it's Kevin and Shia, they would want to be playing us our best. And hopefully that last game as a spectacle comes down and us two shooting, going for it. And it's on the line to basically come first and get the Mitre Premiership and go on to champion because a lot comes from coming first. But like I said, don't want to say that it's just us two. There's Doonside that are sitting there probably watching this and thinking what he's on about. We're just a couple of points behind you. There's also Eastern Creek are starting to pick up a bit of form and all their players are starting to come back after a slow start. He's also got Workers. I know they've had a crap start, but I still think they're a quality team that can do anything on their day. So you got to show the respect to all these other teams. You can't just be going, it's just us and them, even though we might think that, or they might think that, or you might think that, but you just got to show respect because, as I said, we might have not shown that respect to Tigers at the start of the season, and look what happened to us. So literally, you got to come every week, respect your opponent, and literally, you're ready to play every weekend. And if that leads from us 8 games till we get to Marayong, I think right now, hopefully, we're fully fit, ready to go, and we're able to give that spectacle match of the round, the last round of the game, and both teams are firing at the time because obviously that's why that game's been scheduled for then.
Yeah, that is a fantastic, humbled, self-reflective answer, which I think is a great way to wrap up tonight's iteration of the podcast. Ellie, it's always a pleasure, my friend. You always bring the answers that people want to hear. So thank you so much for providing that entertainment as you always do, and I'll see you on Saturday.
Take care, mate. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Very, very interesting chat indeed. Thanks so much to Ellie for giving me the time of day so late on a Thursday night. He really is the man when it comes to the podcast occasion. I think we should go and chat to their adversaries, at least for this weekend. Tigers, of course, did best them last time. Will it be a case of the same thing? Probably not. But can Tigers cause the upset? I believe in them. Let's go chat to them. Tigers boys faced off against a team they know that they have proven already they can beat in Ponds this weekend. For the first time, 2 debutants have donned the privilege of being on the podcast. Welcome to Quakers Derby winning goal scorer Jared Fife, and also a man who loves a match of the round goal at BFP, which is where we'll be this weekend, Billy Seck. Boys, thanks for joining me on this haphazard old podcast. I really do appreciate it. Billy, the last game against Ponds, 2 late goals. You scored the winner, of course. So run me through that game as a whole and what caused that late momentum shift that resulted in you guys winning?
That's a good one. I mean, it was a while back, to be honest. So some of that game is a little bit beyond me now. I've sort of forgotten a little bit of it, but it was one that we held our heads high with because it was a tough game that, got a lot of quality going forward, in particular, Ponds do. But we just stuck in there, really. We gave it our best. And in the end, it was a couple half chances. Got a bit lucky with the first one. And then I think that gave us a bit of momentum and an easy one really towards the end there just to cap it off. was nice though. I play indoor with a couple of the boys from that team, so a little bit of bragging rights over Scotty Jackson and Jacko. So it was good. It's a good game, and look, we know it'll be tough again this time around, but we'll be up for it. We got quality throughout the squad, so it should be a good one.
Fantastic. That I certainly hope it is. Clive, welcome to the podcast, my friend. You've been a player who I've really enjoyed watching break into the first grade spot. I'm delighted to see you get more minutes in first grade now. Now, I know there's been a couple of injuries this year that have sort of hindered your progress, slowed you down a little bit, but you're there and you're playing consistently week in, week out now. But do you agree that patience has been a bit of a virtue and now you're sort of reaping the rewards of that?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Mark. Much appreciated. But yeah, I think so. I think it's just getting down to training, as much as possible. Sticking to it, sticking with it. Frustrating, I think, as you get a bit older, injuries start to creep in a bit more, which is just a part of life, I guess. So managing that as best as possible. Just, after games, just recovering. Nothing too crazy during the week, especially at training, not going too harry like the young boys do. proper warm up, proper stretch, proper cool down, proper stretch. But yeah, you're right. It has allowed me to, I guess, get some good minutes in first grade, which is nice. It's nice to, I guess, see the different levels between resis and first, and step up and hopefully make a difference for the team.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. And good that you're honest about the situation. It gives me a bit of a smirk. Billy, I want to go back to the Quakers derby, a comeback victory, a brilliant second half that day as well, where all 4 goals were scored against them at 4-1. Now, you played the ball for Byron's goal. That ended up being the equaliser, but I just think that your striking performance all around didn't need a goal to be brilliant. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think my striking performance might have actually been the problem. In the first half, we sort of changed things up in the second half. 𝓟𝓞𝓝𝓓 just made a real simple little change, dropped me back into more of a 10 role and slid Kieran up front, and we just sort of had to win that midfield a bit more and paid dividends in the end. It was a good little tactical change. It really didn't change that much, but it had a big impact on the game. So it's actually become a bit of a theme. Some performance, much like the Pond game. The first half we just stuck in there and we were putting it in, and then towards the end we just managed to get graft out a little bit of, the odd half chance, and then sometimes it ends up being like a 4-1, like it did against Quakers. A few people with moments of quality, and then other times it's just, just the one, just like against Pond. So hopefully it'll be like that again on the weekend. Cameras will be on, so we'll be ready.
Yeah, very good to hear. Ponds, now this weekend, Fifey, it's a tough game. You caught them by surprise last time. But I want to talk about sort of the last 3 games that we had. The Quakers game, but the 2 since then, not such great showings. No goals in the last 180 minutes for Tigers, 5 conceded. Generally, what's gone wrong against Creek and Marayong? Are there any similarities in those 2 performances? And what needs to be fixed heading into this Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, the first game there, Creek, it was just a poor showing from the lads, I think. I feel like we rocked up in there with plenty of confidence. The warm-up was well drilled in. The pitch didn't really suit us, I felt like. There was a lot of slipping over. Wasn't the best conditions for us. The synthetic, it does things that you're not used to put it lightly. We've had a boy in the resis, Aaron. He did his ACL that day on the syntho. He was spewing. I twinged my hip flexor there that same day just because of the pitch. But I mean, they were a quality side. I think maybe, I don't want to say that we went in underestimating them by any means, but it was just a poor showing by us, I think, while we stuck in there. And the second goal for them to seal it was probably soft to put the least. It was, just one to put behind us, I think. Just one of those ones at the season you're going to have a couple of them throughout the year, and if you can just move on from it and move on quickly, then that's best for the team, I think. And then last week, Marayong, well, I mean, just Marayong itself speaks for themselves. Their quality side for as long as everyone can remember, really. And as soon as you take a game out there, you know what you're in for. I don't feel like the scoreline really reflected how well we played. It felt like we really dug deep. kept them scoreless for quite a while. We had a couple of chances ourselves. So if a couple of those go the other way earlier in the game, then we could be having a different conversation right now. But all in all, we all walked off that pitch very happy with that performance. A goal would have been nice, a point would have been even nicer. But we held our heads high, that's for sure. And I think we take that confidence from a quality performance last week into this week, which is very important.
Going to have to get you two on the podcast more. Very eloquently spoken, Fifey there. Certainly some media-trained answers, again, coming out of Patterson Reserve. Unsurprising, that one. Boys, thanks so much for joining me on in I think what is the break of your working times right now. So thank you so much for your commitment. I'm sure the podcast fans will appreciate it. And I'll see you on Saturday night. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, mate.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for putting up with that quite haphazard interview. I was pressed for time, as you can probably tell, but we did get through it, and it actually gave us some good quality content, so I'm quite happy with that. Thanks to those boys for fitting it into their work schedules. We're going to move straight into now chatting with Marayong, the WPL girls. Actually, were quite keen to be on the podcast this week, so I'd love to present to you what they had to say. Enjoy. The Marayong girls faced off with Holroyd again this week into the WPL match of the round. It's a team they faced and had a really couple of solid showings against in the last couple of years of the WPL. A couple of hard-fought games, to be perfectly honest. And I guess they're battling for the right to say who wears green and yellow best. Welcome, Alicia, the long-time stalwart centre-back, Talia, who scored a couple of great goals this season, and Marayong youth product Bella, who I'm sure will spend many years in the system as well. Nudgy, of course, here to help out on the right as well. Guys, thanks for joining me. I want to start by throwing it all the way back to the first match of the round of the season. I'm asked Nudgy, just so we can warm up into this one. A very late winner from Winston Hills in that one, a bit of a painful one to talk about, I'm sure, at Harvey Park. You kept it tight for so long, 88 odd minutes. It all came undone with that one goal. What were some of the takeaways from that match, Nudge?
Look, with that particular match, the first thing was obviously it proved that the defense hasn't changed from last year in terms of strength. I mean, that was our biggest strength last year, and it hasn't changed again. The game, it was a pretty 50-50 game. I mean, that was round 2 of the season where we hadn't even played round 1. We'd had training rained out for 3 weeks. So to be honest, I reckon both teams were still a bit scrappy. Nobody had touched the ball in about 3 weeks. So you couldn't really take too much out of that game, except the fact that, one, yes, the defense was still as strong. That was our first hit out. We got to see what some of the new players of the team in attack were capable of, which there was a lot of promising signs that game. But yeah, in terms of taking anything massive out of that game, you just couldn't, not, like I said, nobody touched the ball for 3 weeks for that game.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bella, I'm going to throw to you to add something onto this, if you can throw all the way back to that game, mainly because I recognise that your last name was the same as Luke's in the men's system, so I'm just going to pick on you based on that.
That's okay.
Is there anything you'd like to add on what Najee said?
Yeah, definitely. This was a while back now. But yeah, it was definitely a scrappy game, I think, for both teams, but especially we're quite a new team as well. So getting to know each other and how each other play, it was very interesting, but at least we could reflect back. We played them again on Sunday, and I think we've seen a lot of improvements and we've really started to work together as a team. So it's really good to see us all collaborating together and getting stronger.
Alicia, I throw to you. Welcome back to the podcast. Of course, an all-star representative and 2 years now in WPL Marayong colours. Welcome back. That game against Holroyd, that was a crazy 3-2. There were some close ones last year as well. But the one thing that Dribble doesn't tell me from the Hills end is how that sort of game went chronologically. So tell me, that Holroyd game, was there any point that you guys had the lead? Did you make some sort of a comeback at some point? Maybe in tandem we can answer this. How'd that game sort of look?
So in the first half, they definitely had the better of us. We couldn't capitalise on our opportunities and they took the lead. And then right after halftime, they happened to get another one. But then the comeback was on. And so we scored a few quick goals. And then we just couldn't get that third and final one to draw the game.
Okay, I see. So very, very close. As we're about to talk about the most recent match of the round as well, a midweek catch-up, a tight 2-1 loss to Castle Hill United. Talia, again, you scored in that one, following up on the loose ball, which is some great striking instincts from you. But again, it's a game of, again, it's close but no cigar. So a positive day for you personally, yes, I guess you'd have to say, but again, just one goal in it once again.
Yeah, definitely. It would have been nice to see a couple more goals there, but we just couldn't get it working that day, unfortunately. It was probably to blame the 3-degree weather that we were in. It was freaking cold that day. My fingers were freezing off. But yeah, it got scrappy in the end there. We were really fighting for life at the end. Both teams were, but yeah, just evened out. Oh no, we lost. Yeah. Didn't even out, but yeah, we just couldn't get that last evening goal, I guess. Yeah.
Now it's this weekend. Holroyd, of course. Now the reigning champions and premiers, of course, they aren't exactly what we saw last year in terms of performance. There's a lot of really similar names, of course. Their captain is still kicking on about, so she picked up 2 goals last time against you guys. The learnings from the last 2 years, what you've already seen from them this year. I know you're an avid watcher of the Match of the Round games, of course. How do you think you can mount a challenge to them this season?
Look, regardless of who they've lost from last year, Danny's done a great job with those girls for 2 years, so he's really done well with that team. And even though they've lost a few key players, they're still as competitive as ever. You know, they are probably that little bit behind where they are last year, because last year, you know, they went through the whole season undefeated. Now it's either that or certain teams have actually gotten a lot stronger. It could be either one. But look, with coming into the game against these guys, I don't see why the result can't go our way. Apart from there was only one game this year where I can say, you know what, yeah, we were outplayed. There's only one game in the whole season. Everything else, you know, we've kept up with the best. I mean, you know, we played with Parkley, you know, even Talia herself on Marayong, I think she hit the post twice that game. We ended up conceding a penalty at the back end of the game and losing that game. You know, we played against Kellyville, who was sitting top of the table at the moment. The game finished 2-1. And it was, again, you know, them having the better of us in the first half and the girls just going ballistic in the second half to try and win the game. So this team is capable of beating anybody. So on the weekend against Holroyd, it's no different. The girls are going to go in. They know what happened last time. We were shocked a bit with the way they came out. They did get us early. But in that second half, yeah, it was after they scored their 3rd goal, you know, we made a few changes, formation and stuff. And from then on, I thought it was just a matter of time before we get to equalise, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, so it looks like Marayong, and it's coming through that Marayong are certainly a second half team. Hopefully the second half of the draw at least brings about a bit more fortune in that sense. So whatever you seem to be saying in the change room is working, but whenever we get to cross that line, I'm sure it's a point of celebration, Nudgy, when we get there. So best of luck this weekend, girls. Lots of improvements, as we've talked about, from last year to this, and I'm almost certain that those clumps of points are coming very, very soon. So thanks very much for joining us, especially you two for the first time, Bella and also Talia, and good luck. To the fixtures now. Quakers Tigers are hosting Castle Hill United. Juniors go to Rouse Hill Rams. Park Lee host Norwest. Marayong Match of the Round as they host Holroyd. The Match of the Round on Saturday is Tigers versus Ponds, 7 p.m. at Blacktown Football Park. Prospect versus Marayong. Eastern Creek and Quakers Juniors. In what was an early season Match of the Round, Ropes this time will host Blacktown Workers. That could be fun if it's anything like the first time. Riverston will take on Doonside. I reckon the actual best match will be the one this weekend that we have got as the Match of the Round. So be thankful. Make sure you tune in. Now, this is where it gets a bit scrumptious. After beating Mount Druitt Town Rangers on Wednesday night, Parkley will take on now the newly resurged Polonia, who won 6-0, of course. Both back now in good form. And back top of the table. Newbury will take on Rudy Hill as they try and sort of recover from their Wednesday night loss, as they still look to push for finals. Glenwood took the lead, have lost it, have a chance to potentially win it back if they can get some points against Town Rangers, who are dropping off slightly. St Pat's really need to mount something of a challenge against an Oakville team that are starting to rampage. That's the fixtures. That's going to do it for another episode of the Blacktown Premier League podcast. As we come to an end of a slight era, I guess you could say. We're done with episodes for a little while. I'm gone for exactly 37 days. I'll be back on the 4th of August, so I actually will miss the last round of the season. As I mentioned before, please make Beau Clements the incoming commentator while I'm gone. Please make him feel very, very welcome. Highly talented guy who is keen to call this comp. He's been telling me about how much he's been watching and trying to learn all about you guys. So I'll support him, you support him, the same way you support me. Cue the outro music. See you later.